Hammer, what do you think about all of this? We were at 20-14. We're talking about the insane circumstances that Doug went through as the coach so far, 34 games into his career, and of course the conversation of um, stay or go, or all of that is in play here. And is Doug tied to this front office?
I don't think Doug's tied to this front office. I think there is a way in which he's tied to them because, it makes it easier to find another general manager. It's easier to stick with the guys that said yes to Doug Christie than it is to go out and find someone else who, is going to like take the job understanding that Doug is the head coach. But we always come back to this one like silly line that, that there are only 30 of these jobs in the league and that somebody else will take this job, whether Doug Christie is the head coach or they get to hire their own head coach. Now, does that work? I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, it typically doesn't work. It works for the first year, it works for the first year and a half, and then at some point you're going to want your own guy so you can create your own legacy. But that doesn't mean that Doug can't be that person. Doug can't morph into somebody who can work with somebody else. And I think that's the thing that I would like. Doug is a guy that is universally like well liked. You talk to anybody that that knows Doug Christie, and they all have a really high opinion of him. So that doesn't mean that you can't find a general manager to work this thing that wouldn't have a high opinion of Doug, because I think you can, and or at least someone that would be willing to sit down in a room, talk to Doug, come out of that conversation, and go, okay, I get it, and we're good moving forward. But I think we all have seen this happen time and time again, even here in Sacramento, where it doesn't work. Where, again, Michael Malone was hired and then Pete D'Alessandro, and Pete D'Alessandro spent the next like 16 months trying to figure out a way to fire Michael Malone so he could get his own guy, which was, of course, George Karl, which didn't last long at all. So, I don't think it's overblown that, you have to have like a good partnership here. The best partnership the Kings have ever had was Jeff Petrie and Rick Adelman. But their relationship had gone back decades. They played together. They had worked together in Portland together, so it's tough to find that like symbiotic relationship. And you have to have 100% buy-in or this thing doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I do have good news, and it didn't dawn on me. There's probably a good chance Vlade's running something, and I'm sure he's going to want Doug back as a head coach. Don't know that for sure,
Yeah.
but the man is traveling with the basketball
Yeah,
team.
he's hanging
so,
out. He's
yeah.
hanging out. But
He's not here for vibes.
no, that's Alvin's job.
Facts.
Yeah, but to James's point, like we all know how that would turn out.
Mhm.
Like if it was somebody like Doug wouldn't make it
Mhm.
as much as we like him or whatever. There's always a chance or an opportunity, but like you said, if it was anybody other than Doug Christie, we would all say that's not going to work out. The new GM is going to get their guy in here. So I don't think, yeah, they can do whatever they want, but I don't think that's the move to make. I think I'm looking at Doug Christie, and I'm a believer, and because of that, I look to bring back the front office too. But I'm probably the only one that feels that way.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, the reason why I'm not tying them together is because Doug was here before the front office. Doug has ties to not just ownership but upper management. Like there are people in that organization that love Doug as much as we do. That have spent tons of time with Doug over the years and believe in Doug. And so I think you can. I mean, I don't think you have to tie them together. I don't, because I don't necessarily think that this was this management team's decision to bring Doug Christie in to have him be the head coach. Just like it wasn't Vlade's decision to hire Dave Yeager years ago. Just wasn't. So like it doesn't matter who wants to tell you that. That's just not the way it went. Vlade had interviewed 8 different candidates, like half of them like 3 times, and had like started to dwindle his list down Dave Yeager became available on a Friday when a phone call was made, and by Saturday he was in Sacramento, and by Sunday morning he had the job. And that was after like a prolonged month-long coaching search that just went sideways at the last second. Like Luke Walton, that was Vlade's guy, without any question. He wanted Luke Walton the first time. He wanted Luke Walton, while Dave Yeager was the head coach. And so there's always these moments where, you're going to have difficult decisions to make, but I certainly wouldn't make a difficult decision on the front office based on Doug Christie. I would make it solely based on their body of work, whether you thought that they had positioned you in a good spot to be good moving forward, whether, your franchise is in a good position. And I think we're going to get to the end of this season, and that's going to be a really, really tough question to answer. Is this franchise positioned to be better at any point in the next 5 years? And are these guys the ones that have like created a spot where you can get better, or are they the guys that have got you into a situation that is pretty bleak and, like you're at the bottom of a well and you got to find a way out? And so I think it's going to be a pretty interesting like week and a half after we get done with this season as to what the direction of this franchise is moving forward.
Just out of curiosity, who wanted Dave?
Oh, there's people in that in ownership and in that front office that wanted Dave. Yeah.
Okay. All righty. How bad is it for Sacramento right now? It felt like they weren't playing bad, but they lost to the three best teams that they've played in recent memory. They have a quality win against the Rockets, earlier this month. But you lose a heartbreaker to the Clippers, who you are in a fist fight with right now for playoff positioning or play-in positioning. And then you get absolutely blown out by the New York Knicks and the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the schedule is always going to be extremely difficult down the stretch. And, I think we were hoping that the team would play more competitive games against the Knicks and the Warriors. But it feels like, again, every time I come on, it feels like we're negative. And I don't want to be negative because, like, look, I'm pulling at least for my guy Doug to figure this thing out. But this is a tough position to be in. That really the toughest stretch of your entire schedule is after tonight. It's like 7 games of just brutality in the NBA. I mean, you guys can look at it like I can. What is it? Memphis, Chicago. What you've got the Bucks, you've got OKC, you've got the Celtics. Like the stretch of games that are coming up, the Kings will be lucky to win 1 or 2. Maybe they get on a tear and they can win more than that. And that's not me being
back-to-backs in there too, by the way.
Yeah, I think the OKC game is a 5th game in 7 nights. Yeah, I mean, like you tell me that's not bleak. That's beyond bleak. That's like I don't know what to say about the difficulty of the schedule ahead. After that, it lightens up. It does. But the fact is, this team is going to have a tough time remaining above 500, remaining anywhere near 500 for a couple of days. And then can they respond in that road trip they have? And can they respond in the last week of the season and sort of pull themselves out of it? But like, look, it's just kind of like the way the schedule is built. And unfortunately, it wasn't Doug Christie who, really the easy part of this schedule was in the first 40 games. And that wasn't Doug coaching. And that's not to heap everything on Mike. I think the team was just in early turmoil and not figuring out who they were and identity crisis and all that stuff. But now here we get to the end of the season and like, we're not being like negative or like positive. We're just looking at the schedule and saying, uh-oh. I mean, that's a reality. The reality is the schedule in front of them is just not fun. And the same thing goes for the Phoenix Suns. Like I personally think the Kings will be the 9th seed. And that's because Dallas is just like a mash unit. And Phoenix has already lost so many games that I don't think they can catch up. Now we'll find out tonight if Phoenix gets back in it. But like this is it's tough for everybody at the bottom of this Western Conference, and all of this is so you can fight it out to see who gets to get their butt whooped in the first round by the Thunder, and that's just again, it's a reality.
I don't know why, but getting your ass kicked for 4 games feels better than getting your ass kicked for 1.
Agreed.
Agreed. I'll
Agreed.
take it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Look, it is what it is, right? Like, this is the schedule. This is the group that you have in front of you, and these guys got to find a way to play better basketball. This week has been just bad basketball. Well, last 2 games, because Sunday I thought they played well, but
They did.
the last 2 games just been bad basketball, and they've got to find a way to get back at it and been talking about, but flip that energy around, man.
Mhm.
Like, obviously it has to start tonight because every game matters. There is no it's a scheduled loss. Like, we can just kind of coast or accept the loss here and up. No, you have to come to play every night, and that's first and foremost what they need to be doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, tonight, it's got to be a get right game. This is a game where you've got to go in there against a team that just, you talk about the Kings not playing well. The Kings haven't played well for a couple of games. They had the bad beat by the Clippers, and then they played poorly against the Knicks and the Warriors. But Phoenix hasn't played well for a month and a half, and they're in a downward trajectory that the Kings just haven't been in. But they might be catching the Kings at the right time. We just don't know. So yeah, this is going to be a tough stretch here, and you gotta take care of business against a team that, again, it's a winnable game, and it doesn't make any sense why Phoenix is in the position they're in. You look at their roster. Sure, they have a little bit of depth issue, but like most of the season, they've been relatively healthy, and they've got all kinds of good players. They just haven't played well at all, and again, I would say the same thing about the Kings. The Kings have had stretches of games where they haven't played well, but they've also been through like some major trauma, like time and time again this season.
Zach LaVine, 6 shots yesterday. Kyle Madsen, quick to point out, 16 in the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Both blowouts. Is one a cause and an effect, or like what is that?
It's a good question. I asked Zach about it on Wednesday, sort of, the tough game against the Knicks, and he's like, I don't know. Like, no, I didn't have a tough game. What are you talking about? I shot 50% from the field and like 50% from 3. And, if I was to ask him the same question, he might answer the same way. Hey, I shot 5 of 6 from the field and I hit all 4 of my 3-point shots. I just don't understand it. It's one of our keys to the game tonight that Kyle and I do. Like, you have to force feed this dude. Like, no, dude, you get back out on the court. You don't get to step off the court until you shoot 5 more shots. That's not the way, the Kings can't handle him him shooting 6 shots in a game. That doesn't make any sense. And, I don't think we watch, I don't know if you guys watched the game and thought, oh man, the Warriors just took Zach LaVine away. I didn't get that feeling. Like with Steph Curry, yeah, the Kings were running everything in the world to go to stop Steph Curry from beating him. And like every other single dude on the Warriors hit a 3-pointer to beat them. But they did a great job on Steph. I didn't think that was the case with Zach. I just thought he just didn't shoot the ball, didn't get the ball enough. And that has to be like a major concerted effort by everybody on the court. Get Zach the ball and go set screens for him, clear him out. You set 2 screens for him. Whatever you have to do, go get him open. He's your best offensive player. And if you're going to have a chance to win these ball games, whether it's tonight or it's, all the games that are coming up, he's got to be right. And by right, that means he's taken 15 to 18 shots, maybe even 20 shots a game. And, that's one of the few ways that you guys have of escaping this thing is by Zach LaVine, like, willing you to victories along with others, but him being so good that it changes what the other team how they have to defend you. And he's got to figure it out. I'm not sure what the deal is, but again, I'm calling the first 3 plays of the game should be for Zach LaVine to get a shot up. And if they're taking him away, that's one thing. But I need to see that they're taking him away, that they're sending a second guy at him every single time he touches the ball. And, even still, you can find ways to beat that and get the ball back to Zach and score.
Oh, you already know what I'm going to say. Zach LaVine, go get the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't waiting around for somebody to run a play for you. Go get the basketball and shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? You're Zach LaVine. Like, they swing the ball from side to side. When you touch it, you go to the cup. Like, we're not swinging it to the other side. Zach, you got it, go. Like, just Zach LaVine, that can't happen from Zach LaVine. And like I said earlier, this is probably one of the things that frustrates so many people like a Trista about Zach LaVine. You've got all the talent in the world. You've got all the ability in the world. But sometimes you're just a little too passive what's going on. Manny talked about how, we had this revelation last year and came into this season and, it just isn't as aggressive, with forcing shots and things of that nature. And that's fine or whatever, but you also got to read the situation. Like, you're 5 of 6, you're 4 of 4 from beyond the arc. Your team is struggling. Go get the basketball and go to work. We don't need Doug to put up two up to get it to no.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Zach. I'm here. I'm Zach LaVine. I'm taking the basketball. You swing it to me. I'm going on Moody and going to work. Like, these guys, they gotta take a little responsibility for their own actions. Not to say that he's not, but you're Zach LaVine. Go get the basketball and shoot it.
That, and if you're his teammates, go set big screens. Get him free. Like,
I don't need no screens. Give me the ball. I'm gonna go. I don't need that. I don't need no screens. I damn near don't need no teammates. I'm Zach LaVine. I'll go shoot the basketball. Waiting around for somebody else. That's when you find yourself with 6 shot attempts.
Yeah.
Go do it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I get it. Like, when you're watching it, you're just like stunned. I mean, he turned the ball over 5 times. So there is that he had he had butterfingers last night. But still, like, I don't care. Like, six players on the Kings shot more shots than Zach LaVine last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another 7 players on the Warriors shot more shots than Zach LaVine last night. That just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he played over 30 minutes. Like, what exactly happened? And he has like carte blanche to go get the ball on the inbounds and take it up. Like, he has every right to go grab a rebound and go full court. Like, nobody's telling him to stop at all. He has the ultimate green light. And so it's really surprising when you see something like that happen. I mean, Valanciunas took 7 shots in 14 minutes. LaVine took 6 in like 32, 34 minutes, whatever it is.
That's crazy. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Were you surprised Domas didn't play last night?
No, I mean, maybe a little bit, but still, like, the way that everybody was acting on Wednesday kind of made you believe that there's a chance that he wasn't going to play. I mean, Zach was very clear, like, hey, yeah, he looked good out here, but, it's a hamstring, so he needs to make sure he's 100%. So if he's not 100%, don't come back, because what we can't have is you missing the rest of the season because you yanked your hamstring. And I think Doug was the same way. Doug's like, hey, yeah, he looks solid out here. We're really excited to get him back on the court, but he's back with the medical team. And, it's one of those things where we'll need to see if he's sore tomorrow and all that stuff, and we'll figure it out, but we're not going to rush him back. So when he wasn't, available, it wasn't a huge shock. I just think it was that it was so late that we didn't know. So.
Yeah. And I wonder if you have Sabonis and you're worried about, you got a back-to-back situation. If you just play him the second game, like, I know you need every game, but why rush him back for the first game when you got another game the next night, traveling, all this other stuff? Like,
and hamstring may legit be maybe we don't do back-to-backs right out the gate, which is tough because the Kings got like 3 of them.
Yeah, all of the games are back-to-backs from here on out.
Pretty much. Like. It's absolutely what it feels like.
Yeah.
I know. I went through the list of teams the Kings are playing, and I forgot they're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, so
Twice,
after tonight,
I think, right?
Well, just after tonight, it's Phoenix, and then you've got on Monday it's the Grizzlies, followed by the Cavs, and a back-to-back with the Bulls. Then you got a day off, you play the Bucks, and you got a day off, you play the Celtics and OKC back to back. So it's not just, again, you got 5 games in 7 nights there, but the stretch of games over an 8-day period, you're playing, some of the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah, shout out to the schedule makers.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. Terrific.
Especially all at home too. It's that's what's so bad about it. You couldn't have broke those games up, so it didn't feel like it was like snowballing on you. And like 2 sets of back-to-backs at home. That's just super rare. Like I don't know that I've seen that in the stretch of a week period. You have actually in the stretch of 7 days, you got 5 games at home. Like just put some cots in Golden One Center so I don't have to leave.
No.
You know what's funny is we talk about like this stretch of games for the Kings, and I'll ask you because I can't really think of it. Have we ever had a stretch this year where we're like, oh, that's a soft part of the Kings schedule?
Yeah, maybe when they played Charlotte and Utah, and that was about it.
It's like 2 games.
Yeah.
But even remember when they had all those games and it ended up costing Mike Brown his job, but they had like 13 of 19 games at the Golden One Center in December. It was all against playoff teams damn near.
Yeah.
Like the Lakers found themselves right then and were really good for a short stretch, like well before the Luka thing, but they had found themselves and all of a sudden it was like, uh-oh.
That's kind of gone to hell.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe this is what Nigo was talking about. If I ain't got LeBron, this guy can't do it.
I mean, didn't he have like 40-something, 30-something? Like, dude, it's not like dude's not playing him. I mean, Austin Reeves had 28.
But I ain't got no defense.
But you just remove LeBron James from the equation, and yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I can't defend no more.
Man.
Well, that and it's just like the Warriors. Like you added Jimmy Butler, and what that did to take the pressure off of Steph is tremendous. And then not only Steph, but then the other players are allowed to fall into sort of their natural spot in the pecking order. And so, yeah, I mean, adding that extra big name player, it can really help. I think that's the one thing I'd point out about the Kings is that they added a big player, but they also lost a big player. So a lot of these teams are, they traded lower level players for big name players. I guess the AD thing, with the Lakers, but when it comes to like Golden State didn't give up a player that drew attention in Wiggins like Jimmy Butler does. And the Kings, they gave up their best player to get another really good player. And now you didn't like change the balance of the team. You just got a different player. His jersey is different. The name on the back of his jersey is different.
The Lakers out here struggling, and LeBron potentially at Fizz.
He might be. LeBron James, downtown Sacramento. Who knows?
What's this place? Slide in here real quick.
Enjoy, King. Enjoy. We'll come back. We'll talk more basketball. Of course, the Sacramento Kings take on the Phoenix Suns tonight in Phoenix, second night of a back-to-back. Kings have lost 3 in a row. They are desperate for a victory. Can they get one tonight? What has to change? After what we've seen the last 3 games, we will talk about that with our insider from the Insiders, James Ham, here along with D'Lo and KC on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Grab some
water. Johnny G, he's been back 1 game. And not only that, but every other dude on that roster hit 2 or 3 threes. So he had a good shooting night against a bad defensive team. We'll see what Kuminga looks like. I mean, that could be a really nice addition here late in the season for them. No, Willsy, I haven't seen anything yet. But he's super close to 50 games. Let me see. I can tell you how many games Isaac Jones has left. Okay, what game are we on? 60, 65.
Cooper Cup and the Seahawks. See, the Bengals were close to. Did James freeze?
Yeah, he did, I guess. I thought he was looking something up still.
I thought he was.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Bengals are close to locking up both their guys, though.
Yeah, that's man.
Jamar Chase will be the highest paid guy whenever that's done.
Yeah, of course.
Did you
That's
see
hilarious.
the Cowboys were in on Cooper Cup for like 20 seconds this morning?
Did I see what?
Yeah.
The Cowboys, they had interest in Cooper Cup this morning.
Yeah.
I froze. I came
Yes,
back.
you did. It was
Switched to the
hilarious.
other
And
internet.
you froze, and no one knew until I came back and realized there's no way James is reading something that intently. Just absolutely not.
No, I heard you open the door. That's when I froze.
Oh,
Yeah. So Isaac Jones has been inactive for 17 games out of the 65. So that puts him at 48 games where he's been active. He's got 2 more, I believe. And I was looking at something intently because I was counting inactives on his game logs.
Inactives are call-ups or not?
No, inactive
remember.
means that he didn't waste a G League. One
Okay,
of his 50 games.
Got you.
Yeah. Benjamin, I don't know. I think the Kings are better off when Keon starts.
Hold that one off. I want that on the air, Hammer. Let's do that on the
All
air.
right. I agree, Tyler. I like watching Isaac Jones play too. Oh, the wife just texted if the internet's out. And it's very possible that the other internet did die.
The odds of me getting my pool done are dying.
Oh no.
It won't stop raining.
Mm.
I'm literally standing at the finish line, and they're like, all we need is 2 straight days of clear weather, and it's not even in existence.
Ew.
Have they put the deck in around? The
Yep.
concrete?
Yep. The concrete's in, the turf is in.
Oh, I'd like to see a picture of all this.
Shout out to Isaiah Cannon. He had a blowout when his Kobe's.
Yeah, I saw that. I
Oh,
saw that.
no. Oh no.
Norm, it snowed this morning. When I went to leave for work this morning, it was snowing at the house. But it was like big snowflakes mixed in with rain. But it was still snow. And it was like 36 degrees. I was actually surprised it wasn't snowing.
I just sent you a video, James.
Okay. My son did have a snow day at school, which is literally the best thing ever to have a snow day. I don't know if you guys have ever lived in a place where you get snow days, but
Never. We had flood days.
there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and
We're here,
the
Hammer.
quiet.
Hang on.
All right.
Sorry, James was celebrating snow days during the commercial break. It's funny, this is the same exact thing that happened yesterday. You look outside, and we know that it's been raining all day. Even I think we were talking to, maybe it was TC, someone who was like, "Yeah, it's in Sacramento. It was Manny." He said it was hailing. Like, Manny, what the hell is that noise?
We thought he was playing with water bottles.
Yeah, it was like all of this hail hitting his car. Meanwhile, we look outside, and it looks exactly like it looks now. You see the dark clouds. but it's all broken up with like you see like a little bit of sun out there.
It's not supposed to rain tomorrow.
I need this weather to calm down. We got things to do.
Yeah.
I need this weather to calm down.
Yeah,
Hammer, sorry.
I was going to say, as someone who grew up where it snows, there's nothing better than waking up, because there's, especially even if your power's out, you wake up and there's a quietness that you get when it snows. So I don't know if you guys have ever gone to the snow, but it's really quiet. The snow eats sound, right? And so you get up, you look outside, it's all white everywhere, and you start celebrating because you're not going to school. I loved it. Snow days are the best.
Did you ever have to shovel or plow snow?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I've had to shovel snow. I also used to set up gigantic sled runs, which is part of the reason why my back is so bad. But yeah.
Plowing snow is a miserable experience.
Yeah.
Miserable. We had a good size driveway and like little roundabout.
Whoa.
In
go ahead.
Yeah,
Explain
what you
it.
talking about,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah.
So to
What
be
we
clear,
talking about?
the house in Connecticut was fire. Like that joint was crazy. And it was a cobblestone driveway. It was legit. It was
Do you have
incredible.
one of those driveways where it's like kind of two entrances? I can come in through the left or the right?
No, it was one entrance.
Whose driveway was longer, yours or Rick Ross's?
Well,
see,
the fact is
he's
so cool.
Anyway, it was miserable. So you have to go out there and then you plow all of this snow to one side, and then you got to shovel the steps. But you're not done when you shovel the steps, James, because you got to throw the salt down. Horrible. It's pretty much why I left. Like my whole life on the East Coast, I was like, look, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. You go to Boston, go to Washington, go to North Carolina. I don't care. I can't live like this anymore. I'm going back to California.
We were building a house. We got the second floor on, and it rained really hard and then froze, and then all of a sudden it started snowing. And we had 3 feet of snow inside the house that we were building. And then after you got done with the snow, we had to take sledgehammers and break the ice so it didn't ruin and buckle all the flooring. It was horrible.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
It's terrific. So miserable. Snow is gorgeous. And it is amazing when someone else has to get it out of the way.
Yeah, it sounds like it's nice to travel to.
Yeah, but when you have to do it yourself, it's a hard pass, man.
Yeah,
a hard pass.
Not my job.
Good
Jesse
call,
is not a fan of salt on the driveway.
Good call, Drew.
Driveway don't even need seasoning. What are you throwing it on there for? It tastes fine by itself.
He's willing to pepper that driveway, but he is not going to salt it.
Oh, that's a win, Drew Down. That's a win right there. I don't remember who to give credit to in the chat for this, Hammer, but the question has come up. Of course, Malik is, struggling a little bit coming back from the injury the last 2 games, and people are asking, like, hey, is this a better move for Keon to be in the starting lineup? Does it balance things out a little bit? That seems to be an endless conversation. Of course, Stan Van Gundy referenced about 4,000 times that the Kings don't have a true point guard, and Malik has been holding those responsibilities since De'Aaron Fox left. Do you have an opinion on starting or off the bench with with Malik Monk, and who might be better suited, if anybody, to be in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I've always had the opinion that once you, I fought you guys forever on this, that I wouldn't have put Malik Monk in the starting lineup, right? Because I thought he was in a perfect role for himself. And I also thought once you put him in the starting lineup, you're never going to be able to take him back out. I don't have anything against Malik Monk as a starter. I just,
sounds like you hate him.
No, I really, really like Malik. The problem
Him and
is
JaVale McGee.
No, we were talking about this earlier with Kyle, right? So what the Warriors did last night was they moved Steph Curry over to defend Keegan Murray, right? And like the question I asked Kyle was like, hey, look, if you were the Kings and they're like, where would you have hid a player? Who would you have chosen to go defend Keegan Murray if you were playing the Kings with your roster outside of Keegan Murray? And that's a problem, because I think we all know that you'd have your choice, and that's either Malik or or it would be Zach LaVine, or it'd be DeMar DeRozan. And when you can get up to 3 players that you would like to hide on just a shooter, that's probably a huge issue. Like the Kings keep going into games with 60% of their starting lineup that doesn't play defense. And that's just really tough. So do I think Keon should be in the starting lineup? Yeah, I'm with everybody else. Like I was pulling for Keon to be a starter before the season started. Like I thought he should have been the starter coming out of training camp instead of Kevin Huerter. No questions asked. But once you made the move, now it just becomes more and more difficult. And somebody needs to go to the bench, but I don't know who it would be. Is it the future Hall of Famer? Is it the $43 million man? Or is it the guy who was a great 6-man, but became your starting point guard, and now you have a difficult time telling him he's got to go back to the bench? It doesn't matter. Like Keon Ellis gives your team the best chance to win. And that's how I look at this. You know, like we always talk about the Kawhi Leonard thing, that he kept shooting the ball, and Pop told him the reason why we keep having you shoot the ball is because you give us the best chance to win. The best chance for the Kings to win is to put Keon Ellis in the starting lineup and to play him 33, 34 minutes a night and have him and Keegan Murray act as like dueling banjos against the best offensive players on the other team. And that, you know, it's tough, but I don't know how you get there from where the Kings sit right now. And I don't think anyone wants to have that difficult conversation with one of these guys on the stretch. And so I would like to tell you that like our opinion matters. It just doesn't, because the reality is they are where they are and they're not going to do anything about it. And, you know, Doug talked about it yesterday with Matt George at the game. Like Matt asked him about this exact thing. And he said, look, we were playing really good basketball before Malik and Sabonis started, both got hurt. So, you know, we're going to try to get back to that as opposed to making some sort of move.
And I think he's right in that regard, by the way. I think Doug is right. Like they were playing good basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's always something with the starting lineup that people want to pick apart, be it Malik, be it Zach, be it DeMar, whether it's getting Keon and, you know, into the starting lineup or it's something else. There's always something that people want to pick apart with this starting 5.
Well, that, and I think you started to play really well against bad teams, and you started to pull away from bad teams and start, especially bad teams after the All-Star break, which are all trying to compete for Cooper Flag. So you started to really like turn the screws where all of a sudden your players aren't playing a ton of minutes. It doesn't really matter who's starting and who's finishing, like, because that's it. You know, you're beating, you know, Dallas or, you know, like all of those, that grouping of games where they're winning by 18 points or 24 points or whatever. And we kind of got away from the general point, which is when games are difficult or in a playoff series or when you're about to face, you know, 5 really good teams out of 6 games. Like, how do you respond? And what do you have that's different than what's going on right now? And that's when, you know, you have to make difficult decisions as a coach. And that might mean that they shorten the rotation again and go back to like, you know, Keon Ellis coming in at the 3-minute mark. But I also think that, while Stan Van Gundy doesn't believe that Malik Monk is a true point guard, I do think that Malik Monk is a point guard, and I think he can play that way. I mean, he's a combo guard, but so is Damian Lillard, so is De'Aaron Fox, so is name half the starting point guards, probably more than half the starting point guards in the NBA. Trae Young, you know, just keep going down. John Morant. These are all guys who love to score way more than they love to pass the ball. And so you just have to work with the confines of your roster and what you got.
And I agree with you on that, James. And because of that, I mean, once again, I don't really care who starts. I just want the Kings to win games, so it don't bother me. But Malik Monk's issue isn't that he's starting or that Keon isn't starting or somebody. It's the fact that Malik's not playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Malik was on the bench and he's playing the same way, the Kings would be in trouble. You know what I mean? Like it's that's the bigger issue to me. If he starts playing better and starts being a little bit more efficient, whether he's starting or on the bench, the Kings will play better. And that's what needs to happen first. And I think that's kind of the way Doug might be looking at it, where, you know, yeah, I hear what everybody's saying about starting and all this other stuff, but I just need him to play better. If he plays better and the other guys continue to play the way they are, everything will fall into place. So that's
Yeah.
the kind of look at it.
He didn't play well last night, but I'd point out that against the Knicks, Malik Monk had a very good game. I mean, I don't know if it's his best game of the season, but he had 21 points. He shot 3 of 8 from 3, 7 of 18 from the field. He had 3 assists, which isn't good enough. He had 2 turnovers, so that's not a horrible game for Malik Monk. It's just the last game was a stinker, and to be honest with you, he just looked like he was beat up yesterday. Like, he didn't look like he had the spring in his legs. He had the leg sleeve on. We know he has a toe injury. He just looks like, a player who, needs a week off to heal up, and you just don't have that kind of time here late in the season.
And if we're waiting for Malik to heal up, we're going to need some guys to get going because I mean, I guess everyone's frustration is aimed at Malik Monk, but we already talked about the 6 shots that Zach LaVine took. Jonas Valanciunas didn't even start the second half. Doug decided to go with Trey Lyles in that regard, and then you had Keegan Murray with a really bizarre game, a guy who had been playing really well, 2 of 10 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. 0 free throw attempts, like he was jump shooting the whole game and finished with 6 points. Like, this isn't just a Malik Monk issue. Like, there were some frustrations with this offense yesterday.
Yeah, you're playing whack-a-mole a little bit if you're Doug. Like, every time you think you got something figured out, something else pops up, and you're chasing it the whole time. And again, it's not a good position to be in. Teams that have been together for a long time with the same head coach, and they have like a really tight system that they're all used to relying on when things get sticky. That's how you get through situations like this, where you lose a Malik Monk and a Domantas Sabonis for a long stretch of games, or at least for 3 games, 5 games, whatever it is with Domas. But the Kings aren't in that position. They're not in a position where they can plug and play players, where it's a next man up mentality. There's a next man up, but the next man up may or may not know the entire playbook. And so we're constantly seeing sort of this situation where, one player will have a great game one night, but then you get back the next game and they don't even look like the same person, and you're confused. Like, why is it that you can't consistently play? And it's because they just don't have like the basic system and chemistry to keep something going. And that just takes time. If this team was together through training camp, or if they made 1 or 2 moves that were, again, the 7th or 8th man on your rotation, that's one thing. But to swap out your number 1 and then add 2 other pieces, now we're dealing with, 3 of your 8 players in the rotation are new. And that's if you're not, adding in a Devin Carter, or you're not adding in a Markelle Fultz. That's a lot. It's a lot for a team to try to figure out on the fly with a new coach who has some of his own, things that he wants to change with the system and everything else. And this is what you kind of get. You kind of get like a hodgepodge that is inconsistent.
Yeah. He's still there. I wasn't sure for a second, but yeah. That's kind of the hand.
James' internet out there going toe to toe with the weather.
I was worried about that.
Yeah, they just out there trading punches.
That's the conundrum that these guys are in right now, and that this team is in, and they're gonna have to. We always talk about, but they got to fight through it and get through it and get to not only the play-in, but they're trying to get to the playoffs. They've got to figure whatever they have to figure out in the next, what they got, 17 games or something like that, to try to get into the postseason, man. And it's not easy. It's not something that is easy to do in general, let alone on the fly. But
fixing the plane in the air.
Yeah.
Right? Know what he said?
Yep. That's where they're at.
I don't ever want to try to fix a plane in the air.
No.
Well, like I said, that Doug's analogy explains a lot about what's going on in this country. There's just people trying to fix planes in the air, and it's not good. Where do you think this team is going, Hammer? Like when we get to the final, when we get to exit interviews, be it after the playoffs or after their playoffs, after the play-in, whatever the case may be, where do you think this team is going?
I mean, right now they're hanging on for dear life, right? And when you get to the end of a season like this, I actually think exit interviews, if they were done maybe like 5 days after the end of the season would be better than right after. I mean, maybe we'll get some interesting quotes or whatever, but that doesn't, again, I think that this thing would be better to, let it soak in a little bit and figure out what exactly happened here before people start, talking. And I also know it's the NBA. So like if they're going to fire people, they're going to fire people quick. And if they're going to extend people, they're probably going to extend Doug Christie quickly as opposed to waiting. I think that this thing could actually move pretty quick after the season, and we'll have to see how it all plays out. But they have a lot of work to do this summer, no matter what. It doesn't matter who's coaching this team or who's the general manager of this team or anything else. They all of a sudden became a really, really top heavy, older team out of nowhere. Valanciunas, on the wrong side of 30. Zach LaVine is just about to turn 30, or just did turn 30, right? You got DeMar DeRozan, who's going to be 36 next year. Like, this team all of a sudden got much older than it was before, and they don't have like a big group of young players that are coming up and everyone can be excited about. So kind of like a lopsided roster, and they've got to figure it out. They've got to figure out how do they get back onto a path, or they've got to figure out if that isn't possible, and if their real path forward is to take a huge step backwards and sort of gut this thing and start over. And I'm not sure that they're ready to do that. I'm pretty sure they're not ready to do that. But reality is, it's tough. Like, this isn't, you're like, financially, you're over the salary cap already with 8 players on a contract. We talked a little bit about the Keon Ellis situation. Like, they have to make a real difficult decision this summer on Keon Ellis. Yeah, if they can get him to sign an extension, that's one thing. But if they can't get him to sign an extension, he walks into next season at like 2.3 million. And at the end of that season, he's unrestricted. If you don't pick up his option for next year right now, then he goes into this summer as a restricted free agent, and you can match any offer for him. So like, you have some really, really crazy decisions to make on some of your players. The Keegan Murray situation. Are you going to lock him up to a max extension, or a 4-year, $95 million extension? Like, what are you doing with Keegan Murray? Are you going to keep this group of players together, or this DeMar or Zach or Domas? Are you going to trade all 3? Or are you going to trade 2? Like, I think that there's a ton of question marks that are hanging over this team, and none of them are going to feel really all that good.
Well, I guess that's.
Sorry, was that bleak?
No, I mean, it's what it is, reality.
Yeah.
Like, it's real. I mean, James, we all kind of knew that would be the answer. We're all saying the same things. We're all talking about the same things. Like, we recognize what it is. It's magnified by the fact that not only have you been blown out twice in your last 2 games, but your string of good play, and I do believe that they have been playing good, was bookended by 2 ass whoopings by the Golden State Warriors. Like, the scores were nearly identical. We're talking like 30-point blowouts. I mean, 26 and maybe 26 and 28 or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. And it's the Warriors at each end. That is bad. That adds a little extra bad to what's going on. So we recognize with the trade of De'Aaron Fox and people looking for clarity, DeMar, kind of being near the end of his career. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of really uncomfortable conversations when this season is over, and we don't know what the result of any of those are going to be. Not to mention the front office is limbo, and you're being coached by an interim head coach.
Yeah, that's a lot, man. There's like too many things to list. Like, and that's why, like, we haven't got to, like, what about the assistant coaches? Like, I don't know if one of them will be back. I don't know if 5 of them will be back, but there's massive changes coming if Doug is the head coach, and there's massive changes if somebody else is the head coach. So, like, I think that this is one of the most unsettled off seasons that the Kings have walked into. But at the same time, I'll point out some of the good things. Some of the good things is the second that your pick is sent to Atlanta, you're not going to have a first round pick this year. Sorry, folks. But you do get back your 2026 and 2027 second round picks. So all of a sudden you have more second round picks. Not only that, we get to July 1st and you have every single one of your first round picks from 2026 until 2032. So you have 7 first round picks and an additional unprotected pick in 2027 and an unprotected pick in 2031. So all of a sudden you're a team with 9 first round picks. And can you take a $25 million contract of DeMar DeRozan, package it with a couple of picks and throw in some other salary filler and go get yourself a big name player? Can this thing turn around quickly? And that's where I think this is an intriguing summer. It's not all over. It's not all like, oh, they're completely done and they can't make any changes. There will be an opportunity to make changes this summer because they all of a sudden have picks that they didn't have before.
Tonight they need to win, though.
No.
Oh, yeah.
We saved the most obvious statement for the last 2 minutes of the show.
Oh, that is great. And you're right, James, but man, they need a victory.
Yeah. This is yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a question. It was, you could just say yeah.
Yeah, this is a big one. The reason why they really need this is because the next week is going to be brutal and it's going to make everyone feel really bad because that's just a schedule ahead of them, right? And they might pick up a couple of wins that we don't expect, but overall, out of the 6 games after this, if they win 2 of them, I think people should celebrate. To get to 3 that would be miraculous. That would mean that you beat a team like the Cavs or you beat a team like the Thunder on the 5th game in 7 nights. That's what that would mean. That's why it's so difficult. But if you are able to get that little bit of distance here from the Suns and push them down, it pretty much secures you as the 9 spot in the Western Conference. And whatever happens from here on out, it's okay because you're the 9 spot, because there's no way Dallas is going to wake up out of their slumber. And Phoenix, you have an opportunity to put one of the nails in their coffin tonight. It would give you the season series and it put you a bunch of games up on them, and it would be a big deal.
They got to close it out, man. But whether they do or they don't, we'll be here Monday. It's just a question of, will we be talking Kings basketball or food, restaurants,
wrestling,
cooking plant? We might play John Cena's heel speech.
We will be watching that as a class
from Belgium live. We'll pull out the cart like substitute teachers. And do they have a Sunday game or is it Monday? It's Monday. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So there'll be plenty to talk about. Thank you for spending today with us. Thank you for spending this week with us. We're going to head over to 102.5. Flashback Friday begins literally in just minutes. So head over there. If not, we got the purple and black pregame show coming up next. Mm-hmm. And then we'll be back here Monday at 10 a.m. with the Insiders on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Vamos Kings, light the beam.